So good morning, all of you. Is my voice audible?
Yes,
Okay, yeah. So the yesterday we saw these some basics of the thermodynamics, which are very important related to the this particular different concepts. Okay. So the first point we have to go through is absolute thermodynamics temperature scale. Okay. So I already asked you yesterday to just read out those Carnot engine. Okay, right? So the theory related to the Carnot engine, then how the efficiency of the Carnot engine calculated. Okay, so generally when we go for the efficiency of any heat engine, the basic formula is that the work output upon the whatever the energy input. Okay, so for the general any heat engine, uh, just a second. So for any general heat engine, you can write down the efficiency is equal to the work output upon the work input or the whatever the energy input. Okay, so by just taking the Carnot engine which will working in between the two different reservoirs, okay, and for that we can write down this type of the efficiency expressions. Okay, now consider there are three different Carnot engines, or we can say the heat engines are used. Okay, those are the reversible ones. Okay, and the Carnot, as we know, the Carnot engine is reversible engine, right? Or whatever the process is happening into this particular engine will be reversible. Now, consider there are three engines E1, E2, and E3. Okay, E1 work in between the reservoirs having the temperature T1 and T2. This is the middle level reservoir, and the second engine will work between the reservoir 2 and reservoir 3. Okay, having the temperature T2 and the T3. Okay, the similar engine, okay, that is known as the engine E3, will working in between the reservoir 1 and the reservoir 3. Okay, so generally there are three engines working in between the reservoirs, 2 and 3 reservoirs. Okay, E1 and E2 in series 1, and the E3 is parallel to that particular E1 and E2 engines. Okay, now from the Carnot heat engine, as we know, the efficiency of any Carnot heat engine or the any Carnot or reversible heat engine is the function of the temperature only. Okay, means what the efficiency will be based or function of the temperature of the reservoirs. Okay, so because of that, we can write down the efficiency of any reversible engine is equal to or the function of the temperature T1 and T2. Okay, this is true for the engine 1. Okay, first of all, we are considering the first engine. Okay, and from that, we can write down the efficiency of the any reversible engine is the function of temperature of reservoir T1 and reservoir 2. Okay, now we can write down directly write down this efficiency formula that is equal to the our function of the T1 and T2. Okay, so that's this is the first equation. Okay, we got from the efficiency formula. Okay, and if efficiency of any reversible Carnot engine is a function of temperature only. So based on upon those two lines or statements, we can write down the efficiency of the particular reversible engine, that is 1 minus q2 upon q1, it is coming from there here, is equal to function of the temperature T1 and T2. Okay, now we have to find out the function or the term q1 upon q2. Okay, so by taking some mathematical steps, we can write down q1 and q2 is again the function of different function of f capital F function of T1 and T2. Okay, in this equation this function will be different, and in the second equation function will be the different. Why it is different? Because here we done some mathematical arrangement. Okay, arrangement of these terms q1 and q2 and the function. Okay, so that's why the into the second section this function is the different and this function will be the different. Okay, now Third, similarly, for the first engine, we write down this Q1 upon Q2 means whatever the heat inputted and the heat rejected, that ratio is the function of the temperature T1 and the temperature T2. Similar to that, we can write down uh, for the engine E2 and the engine E3. Okay, so by using this formula, the previous result, we can write down for the engines engine E2, engine E2 this, and for the engine these equations. Okay, so for the engine E2, it is a Q1 upon sorry, this is for the first one. Q1 upon Q2 is a function of T1 and T2. Similarly, engine for the second engine also, we can write down Q2 upon Q3 is equal to function of T2 and T3. Okay, so here you can see the Q2 is the input heat to the second engine, Q3 is the output heat or rejected heat, and the temperature T2 is for the second reservoir and the T3 for the third reservoir. Amarth, please check your internet connection. Okay. To all remaining students, our voice is clear. Please check your internet connection. So, based upon that, we can also write down this equation for the E3 also. So here you can see. So those two equations are right for the reversible engine. Okay. Now E1 and E2 together constitute another heat engines that is known as the E3, operating between the T1 and T3. Because here you can see the E1 and E2 are collectively working in between the temperature T1 and T3, or the reservoir 1 and 3. Okay. When we combine these two engines, we got the third engine, that is the E3 engine. Okay. So for the E3 engine, when we combine both of these particular engines, we can write down similar to this one. For the E3 engine, Q1 upon Q3 means whatever the heat input upon whatever the heat rejected is a function of T1 and T3, whatever the temperatures of the reservoirs. Okay, so based upon that, we can write down Q1 upon Q2 is equal to Q1 upon Q3 upon Q2 upon Q3. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so for the Q1 and Q2, whatever the heat sorry heat accepted, okay, heat accepted by the engine E1 upon the heat rejected by the engine E2 is equal to the whatever the heat absorbed by the E3, that is the E3 efficiency terms related to the engine E3, and this is the term related to engine E2. Okay, so again, instead of Q1 and Q3 and Q2 and Q3, we can write down this. Okay, this is the function of T1 and T3, and this is the function of T2 and T3. Okay, and already we know Q1 upon Q2 is function of T1 and T2. Okay, so we just arranging those terms. We can just arranging those terms into the equation. Okay, and finally we can write down here that from this function or from the equation, we can say that we can cancel out or they remove the temperature T3, right? And we can write down the function of T1 and T2 is the another function is the equation of the function in the terms of another function. Okay, because first of all, at the first we considering small f as is first function, then the second function is the capital F, right? And now the third function we are considering the ft1 and ft2. Okay, that will, and when we cancel out the t3, it will gives us the new function. That is the new function is known as, or saying denoted there by the psi. Okay, so q1 upon q2 is function or the psi of t1 upon psi of t2. Those are the different functions than the second one and the first one. Okay, so we just rearranging the terms. Okay, and from that we can calculate or we can find out that when we considering this phi t as a Kelvin Kelvin scale. Okay, when we considering the phi t is a Kelvin scale, on the Kelvin scale, then we can write down Q1, whatever the heat added upon Q2 or the whatever the heat rejected is equal to T1 upon T2. Okay, but assumption is that this scale will be in the Kelvin, not in the degree centigrade. Okay, the scale of this temperature should be Kelvin, degree Kelvin. It should not be a degree centigrade. Okay, that is the assumption, and that is a very important assumption. So from this absolute thermodynamics temperature scale, we can define as the whatever the from this particular for this from this particular point we can define that the whatever the heat absorbed by the engine upon the heat rejected by the engine is equal to the temperature of the heat received reservoir, okay, upon the temperature of the heat rejected reservoir. Okay, so this is the, and the assumption is that the temperature scale should be a Kelvin scale. Okay, so from this we can use all those these particular equations for the different cycles when the particular cycle is the reversible one. Okay, so there are two main assumptions you must know, that the scale of this temperature should be in the Kelvin. That's why in the most of the or all any all numeric sorry numericals, we are considering the scale of temperature as a Kelvin scale, and also the particular process or the particular cycle, thermodynamic cycle, should be a reversible. That is the second one. Okay, so before you are going to use this particular equation for the particular cycle, two assumptions it should be satisfied. The first one is the temperature scale should be in the Kelvin, and the second one is the that particular cycle should be a reversible cycle. Okay, then and then only you can apply this equation to the particular cycle. Okay, so consider just that one heat engine will be installed. Okay, then the lower temperature reservoir or the lower the heat rejected reservoir temperature will be triple point of water. Okay, we just considering that one. Okay, so if this temperature is known to you and also the heat rejected and the heat added is known to you, then you can find out the temperature of the reservoir of the heat added. Okay, so by using these equations, if you know these three terms, sorry, and if you know any three terms like the temperature of the water, triple water, then the heat rejected to the triple water at the triple water reservoir, and the heat added. Okay, if you know these three things, you can easily find out the temperature of the particular gas other reservoirs. Okay, so this is the Kelvin scale. Okay, or we can say the absolute thermodynamic temperature scale. Okay, in all numericals as well as the in all concepts, whenever you go for the explaining the properties or mentioning the properties of thermophysical properties like the entropy, enthalpy, and etc., you have to use a Kelvin scale. Okay, you are not able to use, or it is not right to use the degree centigrade scale. That's why in all the properties also mentioned or referred to the Kelvin scale. Okay, now the second concept is that consider there is a one plot, that is the pressure versus volume plot. Okay, pressure versus volume graph will be there. Okay, now whenever we considering or whenever we want to draw any constant pressure line. How to draw the constant pressure line? Just draw the horizontal line. Okay, it is parallel to the x-axis, right? And it is the constant pressure line. Okay, now consider this is the constant pressure line P1, this is the constant pressure line P2, and so on. Okay, so here one property you can observe that all the constant pressure lines are the parallel to each other. Okay, they are not going to meet to each other. Okay, that is the basic principle or the basic observation you can observe from this PV plot. Similar to the constant volume line, when we want to draw the constant volume line, those also parallel to each other, right? And it is the perpendicular or the at a constant volume lines will be the parallel to the y-axis also. Okay, so similar principle, similar basic principle we are going to apply into this particular concept, new concept. Okay, and also you can see that or observe that those are the properties of the systems, right? This pressure and the volume are the properties of the system, and it will have the constant lines which will parallel to the each other. Okay, now we have to define the another property of a particular system, because till now we know the pressure, we know the volume, we know the temperature, we know the internal energy, then the enthalpy, etc. Right? So the new property that will be given by the second law of thermodynamics, or we can say the Clausius statement, it is given by the Clausius statement. That new property we have to find out. Okay, we already know the pressure, we already know the value. Okay, so based upon that we have to find out the new property that will be given by the second law of thermodynamics. Okay, and how we are going to that finding out that property, let's see. Okay, just a second. Now consider there are three different processes. Okay, there are two reversible adiabatic processes. Now that assumption is very important in any concept. You basic concept of the thermodynamics, you must consider all the processes are the reversibles. Okay, just consider those ones. That so there are two reversible adiabatics. One means there will be during this particular process there is no any heat transfer, right? There will be no any heat transfer or heat exchange. Okay, so consider those are the two reversible adiabatic processes. Okay, and those two reversible adiabatic processes will meet at point C. Okay, now at the other end we will draw one reversible isothermal line. Okay, isothermal line means what? Temperature is constant. Okay, so for this particular line, when we calculate or observe, note down the temperature at any point on this line, the temperature is the constant one. Okay, that is called as a reversible isotherm or a reversible isothermal line or a constant temperature line. Okay, now we draw this particular cycle because this will be become the one closed path, right? Right, and all the processes are the reversible ones. That's why this total cycle is the reversible thermodynamic cycle. Okay, now we have to draw that particular engine or the particular engine diagram. Okay, now just consider this is the first reservoir which will having the temperature T1. Now there is a having second reservoir having the temperature T2, and there is a heat engine which is working. Okay, this is the heat engine. Now we know heat engine will produce some work. Okay, that is the work. Now here we know during out of these three processes, two processes are reversible adiabatics. Means these two processes does not exchange any type of energy, heat energy to the surrounding. Okay, but the third process is the reversible isothermal process, whereas it can gives us or it will gives or interact with the surrounding by interchanging or by exchanging the heat, right? So consider this is a reversible isotherm, and during this process, some amount of heat will enter to the heat engine. Okay, so now here you can we can say the heat will be added to the heat engine, right? So this process will be done. Then when we go for the other two processes, we can say there will be no any heat interaction to the surrounding. That's why whatever the heat added during this reversible isothermal process must be converted into the work. Okay, means whatever the heat is added into the engine, it should be and it must be converted into the total useful work. Okay, because the other two processes are the reversible adiabatic process, and for the reversible adiabatic process we can say there is no any heat interaction with the surrounding, right? So is this particular engine is valid or not valid? You can give me the answer. Is it possible to construct this the engine which will convert all the heat energy into the useful work? Is that possible?
No.
No.
No, sir.
No, it is not possible, because that what the Kelvin Planck statement says. Okay, it is not possible that all any reversible any heat engine will having the 100% efficiency. If we able to construct this particular machine, then it will be violation of the second law of thermodynamics. That's why this particular engine does not possible to construct. Okay, we cannot construct this type of a system or this type of engine. Okay, that's why this assumption of the particular thermodynamic process or the cycle is not possible. It is not valid. Okay, we cannot interact those two reversible adiabatic processes to each other. Okay, right? So that's why we can say that such this type of a cycle is impossible. Okay, since the network being produced in the cycle by the heat engine by exchanging heat with the single reservoir in the process AB, which is violates the Kelvin Planck statement of the second law. Okay, so through the one point there can pass only one reversible adiabatic process. Okay, so here you can see we assumed that there is a one point C from which two different reversible adiabatic processes are passing. Okay, but when we assuming this particular cycle or this particular engine working on sorry working on this particular cycle is not possible. That's why there is no possibility of passing the reversible adiabatic lines, two different reversible adiabatic lines through the one single point. It is not possible. That's why we can write down that, just a second, we can say that those reversible adiabatic lines are the through the one particular point there is only one reversible adiabatic line can pass. Okay, so that's why whatever the reversible adiabatic lines or the constant entropy lines will be the similar or the parallel to the each other, right? Parallel to the each other, because from the one particular point there will be only one reversible adiabatic line will, can be passed. Okay, so that is our conclusion for this from this particular analysis. Now, as previously as I explained that I explained that constant pressure lines also the constant parallel to the each other, like right? Constant volume lines also parallel to each other. Now those reversible adiabatic lines are parallel to each others, right? Now the, whatever the constant pressure is a property of a system. This particular volume is also the property of a system. means those particular parallel lines denote some property of a system, right? Those horizontal lines you can see denotes the pressure property pressure. Similarly, those vertical lines also shows the property value. Similar to that, those reversible lines or reversible adiabatic lines must be show any property of a system. Okay, some property of a system it must be shown, and that property is known as the entropy. Okay, because those lines, reversible adiabatic lines, are parallel to each other, and as we know, when those lines are parallel to each other, they can show, or they always show any property of a system. Okay, so since two constant property lines can never intersect to each other, it is inferred that a reversible adiabatic path must represent some property which yet to be identified. It is found later that it is a entropy. So those reversible adiabatic lines gives us the property entropy, and it is denoted by the S, letter S. Okay, and for this particular adiabatic lines, the entropy is a constant. Okay, all those reversible adiabatic lines are having the entropy constant. Okay, means whenever we calculate the entropy at any point on the any reversal adiabatic line, the value of entropy should be the constant. Okay, it should be a same for the all the points on this particular line. Okay, so similar to this constant pressure line, also we can say the isobaric. For the constant volume line we say isochoric. For the constant temperature lines we say isothermal processes. Similar to that, constant entropy lines or the constant entropy processes are known as the isentropic processes. Okay, so for the fourth process that we saw already studied, we can say it should be a reversible adiabatic process or isentropic process. Okay, so like this, from the second law of thermodynamics, we get the another property of a system which is known as the entropy of a system, or the uh, entropy of a particular system. Okay, so to find out the what is the actual amount of entropy and how to calculate entropy, we the Clausius will give us the theorem. Okay, which is provide you the answers or the whatever the equation for the calculation of the particular entropy of a system. Okay, so the next point, that is the Clausius theorem. Okay, so it will state that a reversible line can be replaced by two reversible adiabatic lines and one reversible isothermal line. Okay, read out the repeat the statement that one reversible line or a process can be replaced by two reversible adiabatic lines or a process and one reversible isothermal lines, or we can say the process. Okay, so whenever we plot any process on the PV graph, okay, or the TS graph or any other graph, we can replace this reversible process by using two reversible adiabatic processes and one reversible isothermal process. Okay, that is the Clausius theorem, and we are going to prove that one. Okay, now consider there is a one process known as the process A, or sorry, we can write it down, process Z. Okay, there is a one process, you can see the path of the process, those that circular path is the path of the process Z. Okay, its initial state will be I and the final state is the F. Okay, now by using this theorem we can replace this particular process by using two different isothermal adiabatic lines, sorry, two different adiabatic lines and one isothermal line. Okay, so on the PV graph, you know the constant adiabatic lines are like this. Okay, this A line and this second one. Okay, those two are the constant adiabatic lines, and the third, that is the one reversible lines, is from A to B. Okay, that horizontal, so having some slope, is the constant isothermal line, reversible isothermal line. Okay, now applying the first law of thermodynamics to all those processes. Okay, initially for the process Z, okay, this is the for the process Z, we can apply the first law of thermodynamics from the process I to F. Okay, so that is Q is equal to UF minus UI, means this is the change in internal energy plus whatever the work interaction. That is the first law of thermodynamics when we apply for the process Z. Okay, now we just replace this process Z by using three different lines. Among them, two are reversible adiabatic lines, that is I to A, that is first one, and B to F, that is the second one. Those two are the reversible adiabatic lines. Okay, and for the adiabatic lines, we already know that there will be no any heat exchange during that particular processes. Okay, so during all those processes, Q will be Q interaction will be 0. Similar to here also, Q interaction will be 0. Now the third one is there. Okay, that is a reversible isothermal line, which will, or the process which will from the point A to point B. Okay, so whatever the heat interaction will takes place during the process Z, that much of heat will be interacted during the process A to B, right? That is the reversible isothermal process, because other two processes are adiabatic process, and that's why there will be no any heat exchange during this adiabatic process. So whatever the heat exchange during the process Z is only during the process A to B, that is the reversible isothermal process. Okay, so again we apply the first law of thermodynamics to the process I to A to B, and B to F. Okay, so process I, A, B, F, we applied the first law of thermodynamics, and it is given by first law of thermodynamics that QIABF, whatever the heat interaction, is equal to UF minus UI, the change in internal energy. As we know, internal energy is a property of a system. Okay, so whatever the change happened during the particular process, we can write down by just taking the difference between the final and initial state. Okay, so that's why we write down here plus whatever the work interaction during happen during these particular processes. Okay, now we already know the whatever the area under the process Z and the area under the process IABF is the same. So whatever the work interaction during both the processes is the same. Okay, so by just this WIF and WIABF is the same. Okay, so by using these equations we can equalize, or from these two particular equations we can write down QIF is equal to QIABF. Okay, because this quantity, this change in internal energy is not will be, it not will be depend on the path or the process. Okay, that is the property of a system, and it will be only depend on the end state of the process. That's why the QIF, whatever the heat interaction happened during the process Z, and the QIABF, whatever the heat interaction happened during the process IABF, is the same one. Okay, we can again split this particular heat interaction by QIA plus QAB plus QBF, and as we know, process BF and the process IA is the adiabatic process, reversible adiabatic process, so there will be no any heat interaction. Okay, so that's why finally we can write down QIF is equal to the QAB. means whatever the heat interaction happened during the process Z is equal to the heat interaction happened during the process AB. Okay, so that is the that is we can, so that's, so the process Z we can split into the two reverse adiabatic process and one reversible isothermal process. Now this principle is again applied for the next process or the next thermodynamic cycle. Okay, so now consider there is a one thermodynamic cycle. You can see in this particular diagram this thermodynamic cycle or what this circle you can see here. This circle is known as the thermodynamic cycle. Okay, that is one of the thermodynamic cycle. Now what we do, we just drawing the parallel reversible adiabatic processes. Okay, we just drawing those all those lines, or by just splitting this original original thermodynamic cycle into the small sections. Okay, by using the reversible adiabatic processes. Okay, now what we do, the whatever the when we splitted this original thermodynamic cycle, now we just considering this part. Okay, one part or the part between these two adiabatic lines. Okay, we just considering this part. Now here what we do, we just draw one isothermal line. Okay, or isothermal process. The condition is that whatever the area under this process from this to this, okay, this curvature process is equal to the area under the process A to B. Means whatever the work done during the first original process is equal to the work done during this new process, new isothermal process, that is the process A to B. Okay, so during which work is the same. Okay, and whatever the heat interaction is given by the dq1 or a delta q1. Okay, that is the heat that means the small amount of heat absorbed by the particular this system. Okay, now another reversible reversible isothermal process we can plot here. Okay, similar to the previous one, same assumptions will be there. Means whatever the curvature line will be there, whatever the area under this curvature line is equal to the area under this particular isothermal line, that is the C to D. Okay, so now just consider now just considering only one cycle. Okay, because the original big cycle is again sectionized or divided into the very small cycles. Okay, so considering this particular one cycle, okay, these two lines you can see, this one is the reversible adiabatic lines. Okay, and these are the reversible or constant temperature lines. Okay, so for the element cycle ABCD, this is the ABCD, dq1 is heat added or absorbed reversibly at the temperature T1. Okay, and dq2 is the heat rejected reversibly at a temperature T2. Okay, so by using the absolute thermodynamics temperature scale, whatever the heat added upon the heat rejected is equal to temperature of the reservoir of the heat added upon the temperature of the reservoir at the heat rejected, right? That is our that is the absolute thermodynamic temperature scale formula, right? So we applying that formula to the first engine, this particular first cycle. Okay, and we can write down dq1 upon dq2 is equal to t1 upon t2. So we just rearranging the terms, and we can write down dq1 upon t1 is equal to dq2 upon t2. Okay, now if heat supply is taken as a positive and the heat rejected taken as a negative. Okay, we now here we just considering the sign convention of the heat interaction, right? So when we consider heat added as a positive, means dq1 is a positive one, and the heat rejected as a negative, so dq2 will be the negative, so here it will be taken as negative. So we're just taking this term on the left hand side. Okay, so that's why dq1 upon t1, it will be minus become the plus, so plus dq2 upon t2 is equal to 0. Okay, this is for the cycle or very small cycle a b c d. Okay, this is for one section. Similar to that, we can write a similar equation for the second section by assuming all these similar parameters. Okay, by assuming all those previous assumptions, we can also write down this equation, similar equation for the second slice or a second section, similar to the third, fourth, fifth, etc. Okay, so for the second section, we can write down dq. For the second section, we can write down dq3 upon t3 plus dq4 upon t4 is equal to 0. Okay. So similarly, for all the sections, we can write down this equation, right? Now, what we do, we know on the right hand side, there will be a 0 for each and every equation. Okay. So we just adding all those equations, we can write down by the adding that dq1 upon t1 plus dq2 upon t2 plus dq3 upon t3 and so on is equal to the 0, right? Now this addition we can write down or replace by using the integration. Okay, because when we add all these sections, final when we add all these sections, it will be the final or the first or that particular first process or a first thermodynamic cycle. Okay, so we're just taking the integration, and we can write down the integration or a cyclic integration of a reversible cycle dq upon t is equal to 0. Okay, so we're just taking the integration, and this particular cycle or the integration is the cyclic one. Okay, because this particular addition or the integration for the thermodynamic cycle. Okay, and we also write down this r is a very important because it is donated that particular thermodynamic cycle is the reversible one. Okay, that's why we are write down there r. Okay, so cyclic integration of a reversible cycle dq upon t is equal to 0. Okay, now similar to that one, okay, that is the our first. Okay, this is our first result of the Clausius theorem. That means the integration, cyclic integration of the reversible processes dq upon t will be the same. Okay, so for the reversible cyclic processes, the term dq upon t will be 0. Okay, so that is the first result of our this particular Clausius statement. Okay, so remaining one will be we will cover into the next lecture. Okay, this concept is very important. This Clausius theorem is very important because the entropy term or entropy property will be defined by using the Clausius theorem. Okay, so remaining part we will cover into the next lecture. Does anyone have any doubt? These are very confusing terms. Okay, just read the any textbook or a reference book so you can understand easily. Is anybody have any doubt? Which page you want to explain, Saurabh?
Yes, sir.
Which page you want to explain again?
Sir, adiabatic and isothermal reversible process.
Just this one
No, sir, back one.
or this one?
Yes, sir, yes.
सो कसं आहे की दोन जेव्हा एखाद्या कॉन्स्टंट प्रॉपर्टीज असतात त्यांच्या ज्या लाईन्स असतात ते एकमेकाला कधीही क्रॉस करत नाहीत राईट म्हणजे त्यांच्यामध्ये त्या दोन पर्टिक्युलर प्रॉपर्टी लाईन्समध्ये कोणताही कॉमन पॉईंट नसणार आहे दोज आर टू पॅरलल लाईन्स ओके एक्झाम्पल ॲज अ एक्झाम्पल म्हणजे तू या ठिकाणी बघू शकतो जर आपण इथे आपल्याला कॉन्स्टंट प्रेशर लाईन्स ड्रॉ करायच्या असतील तर आपल्याला त्या एकमेकाला पॅरलच ड्रॉ करावं लागतील राईट similar to the video volume constant volume lines also we have to draw parallel lines right so similar to this one जेव्हा आपण रिव्हर्सिबल ॲडिबॅटिक लाईन्स कन्सिडर करतो म्हणजेच काय तर त्या आहेत कॉन्स्टंट एंट्रॉपी लाईन्स ओके सो एंट्रॉपी इज अ प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ अ सिस्टीम ओके सो सिमिलर टू हिअर म्हणजे ही जी प्रेशर सुद्धा एक प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ अ सिस्टम आहे आणि त्याच्या ज्या कॉन्स्टंट लाईन असतात ओके त्या एकमेकाला कनेक्ट किंवा एकमेकाला क्रॉस होत नाहीत दोज आर दी पॅरल लाईन्स सिमिलर टू दिस वन एंट्रॉपी ह्या ज्या रिव्हर्सेबल ॲडिबॅटिक लाईन्स किंवा आयसेंट्रॉपिक लाईन्स असतात ह्यामध्ये एंट्रॉपी कॉन्स्टंट राहत असते ओके आणि एंट्रॉपी ही एक प्रॉपर्टी ऑफ अ सिस्टीम आहे सिस्टीमची प्रॉपर्टी आहे दॅट्स वाय those lines or those reversible adiabatic lines should be a parallel to the each other okay on the right hand side you can see in this diagram you can see all those reversible adiabatic lines are the parallel to the each other okay that's why this concept by just crossing two reversible adiabatic lines is not valid असं आपण लिहू शकत नाही किंवा वी कॅनॉट क्रॉस or there will be no any common point for two reversible adiabatic lines ओके आणि त्यावरून मग टर्म एंट्रॉपी ही टर्म आपण डिफाईन करतो ओके राईट
Right.
okay it is very confusing okay just read any reference book okay in my opinion go through the PK Nag book okay the great explanation given into that particular book and you can understand easily
Sir.
आणखी कोणाला डाऊट्स आहेत anyone have any doubt yeah okay so in the next lecture we will go through the entropy when we by considering it is as a property of a system and after that we will go through the another theorem that is the Clausius inequality theorem okay and after that we will go for the TS HS plane and the entropy change during the reversible and irreversible process that will be the end of our first chapter first point okay that is related to the entropy and the second point is the availability and unavailability okay